Today we are going to explore the Ellora Caves.
We are here in Ellora finally and we are going to get inside. Let's see what's inside.
Ellora Caves are the man-made caves rather than the natural ones which comes under the cave architecture. All the major architectural figures like the blocks, pillars, columns, etc. were carved out of a single rock. Ellora Caves are total 34 in number, spread all along 2.4 kilometers. Ellora is majorly divided in three sects of caves: Hindu caves, Buddhist caves, and Jainist caves. It is said that the Jain and the Hindu caves were sponsored by the Rashtrakuta dynasty and the Buddhist caves were sponsored by the Chalukyas of Badami, Karnataka. Caves from 1 to 12 are the Buddhist caves which were made in between 5th to 7th century AD, while caves from the 13 to 29 belongs to the Hindu sect carved in between 7th to 9th century AD. Lastly, the remaining 5 caves 30 to 34 are of the Jainism sect which were carved out from 9th to 11th century AD. We will start exploring the Ellora Caves with cave number 16. It is a Hindu cave and the most popular, and the reason is the Kailash temple. Just entering the gate of the temple, we get to see the sculpture of goddess Lakshmi named as Gajalakshmi. She is sitting on a lotus flower within the pond fully covered of floating leaves. The Kailash temple is the largest of the rock-cut Hindu temples at the Ellora Caves. It was created through a single huge top-down excavation 100 feet deep down into the volcanic basaltic cliff rocks. The Kailash temple is completely built in the form of a chariot. Figures of elephants, lions, and dragons are built as if they are holding this chariot. The middle portion plays the role of a shaft of the chariot. It also contains two major pillars at the front, Shakti and Vijayastambha. It is said that Kailash temple is a copy of Virupaksha temple at Pattadakal, being 40 years apart, though not the exact. The scheme of the Kailash temple revolves into 6 main parts: entrance gateway, Nandi shrine, Mandap, Antarala, Garbhagriha, cloisters surrounding the courtyard. The temple construction is made symmetrical all over. The temple was painted twice in the history, once dating back to the 9th century AD which got faded with time, and hence it was painted again in 18th century. An interesting fact about the Kailash temple is, as we have two major religious epics in Hinduism, Mahabharata and Ramayana. The Mahabharata was fought in the northern parts of India, while Ramayana left its traces in the southern parts. Hence, both Mahabharata and Ramayana are carved out on the northern and southern walls of Kailash temple respectively. And here is the excellent visualization of the whole Ramayana. Starting from the right of the top row, we can see Lord Ram bending and taking blessings from his parents before leaving for his Vanvas. In between, we can find a gate half open, half closed, which depicts his departure from the city. On the left, we can see a boat called Kevat through which he crossed the river Sharayu. In the second row, under the gates, we can find Surpanakha dancing to lure Lord Lakshman and eventually lost her nose by him. In the third row on the right, we can find a deer representing the illusion of the golden deer Marich which was sent by Ravana, after which Lord Ram chased behind to catch. Towards the left, we can find Ravana taking Ma Sita in his chariot, meanwhile killing Jatayu. In the fourth row, a meeting between Lord Ram and Vanasena is depicted. Lower, we can see the fight between Bali and Sugriv of Ramayana. In the next row, third from last, we can find Lord Hanuman seated on his folded long-tailed chair while talking with the 10-headed Ravana. We can also find the scene of Ashok Vatika towards its left. In the last second row, we can find the Vanars holding large rock pieces to create the bridge of Ram Setu. And the last row shows the battle scenes of Ramayana. This is how the whole Ramayana is carved out beautifully in a single rock piece. This sculpture is called Ravana shaking Kailash. Here Ravana is shown in his 10-headed form while trying to carry Mount Kailash. It also represents the Shiv Ganas getting tense, an attendant running to save her life, Goddess Parvati holding Lord Shiva out of anxiety, while facial expressions of Lord Shiva are still calm. This sculpture depicts the story of how Ravana once tried to lift up the whole Mount Kailash and take it with him. But Lord Shiva put his foot on him, to which Ravana had to get trapped under Mount Kailash for several years. The whole story is narrated through the body language and facial expressions of all the figures. To think that when the artisans were excavating from top down, if at any point they would have found the next layers of soft mud, then the whole structure would have been collapsed. It shows that the excavators already had a vision and knowledge about the rocks, terrain, and architecture. This proves them to be great geologists, engineers, and architects of that era. The huge pillars standing straight in the temple premises are all constructed out of architectural beauty rather than giving support. Hence, even if the temple lost its pillars someday, it won't result its collision. And now we are going towards the gallery. The gallery is all about stories of Lord Shiva. Just at the center of the gallery is a Shiva image carved perfectly aligned to the actual Shivlinga in the Garbhagriha. We can find Nandi sitting beside the god, a snake covering his neck, and a Trishul standing up to his thighs beside him to identify him to be Lord Shiva. Along with Lord Shiva, a sculpture of three-headed Lord Brahma and a sculpture of Lord Vishnu with a chakra is also placed at the center. And this here is depicting the story of Jyotirlingas and how Brahma was cursed to not ever get worshipped. This picture shows Lord Shiva and Parvati together, but the amusing thing here is how it is an illusion sculpture carved in such a way that while looking from its right, they look in a serious temple, but one can see their smiling faces from the left. The mere fact that this type of 3D sculptures were available in that era is impressive. This sculpture here shows a form of half Shiva and half Vishnu known as Harihar, holding a chakra in the right side and a trishul on left with Nandi sitting over. This picture is of the time when Lord Ram visited Shiva to seek his blessings in Rameshwaram. It is a picture of Persian trader wearing a Persian cap along with carrying a sack in his one hand, and the gesture of his right hand indicates the concept of donating. This picture depicts the story when once Ravana tried sacrificing all his heads to Lord Shiva. He sacrificed all 9 heads and was going to cut his last head when Shiva, satisfied with his penance, showered him with wit and power. Indian artistry focuses majorly on two of its components, body language and facial expressions. One can clearly get awestruck looking at its intricate detailings to depict the stories and situations correctly, whether it's Shiva aiming his arrow or a sculpture showing the marriage of Shiva and Parvati. The daily occurring situations in one's life are equally held importance to portray. Whether it's Shiva playing dice game with his wife and asking her to play more while holding her, or sitting with his anxious wife goddess Parvati to please her. The curves and expressions are carved accurately to express the situation. Going towards the northern side of the temple, we found the story of Mahabharat engraved on a single wall of the temple. In the last two rows, childhood of Lord Krishna is narrated. Gokul Mathura is represented in the last line where Lord Krishna was born. Towards the left, it is shown how Lord Krishna killed a demoness Putna through breastfeeding. In its upper row, how Lord Krishna is tied with the ropes to not steal the butter is shown along with how he killed the demon bird Bakasur and another demon. Similarly, in the first 5 rows, Mahabharata is depicted. In the last row, we can see Bhim fighting against Duryodhan with his Gada in the left, Also, we can find five Pandavas standing with Lord Krishna in the middle of the row. The fourth row shows Arjuna fighting in the chariot while Lord Krishna leading his vehicle. In the third row, Abhimanyu is seen struggling with the chakra. The second row shows Yudhishthir having his Rajya Abhishek before his crowning ceremony. And in the first row depicts Arjuna meditating and trying to get the Pashupat Astra, a weapon used in Mahabharata. So here we can see the whole Mahabharata narrated along with many battle scenes. We found figures of elephant, dragon, mixture of both, and also an Egyptian creature called Sphinx with a beard carved. This solidifies the fact of Indo-Egyptian and Chinese trade relations. Here we can see Shiva portraying two different emotions, calmness and anger. This image shows the sculpture of Shiva calmly meditating. Around its sidelines, we can find Chinese and Egyptian figures. While in this sculpture, Shiva is in the terrifying Kal Bhairav form. We can also find goddess Durga killing the demon Mahishasur, who is having a buffalo head carved on the walls. When we got inside the Kailash temple, we found a grand Shivalinga present over there and people gathering in flocks around it. We can also go and take an overview look of the Kailash temple going through some stairs. And that is it. The view was breathtaking. Seeing Kailash from the top gives a better way to understand its chariot-like structure. Upwards, we could also find some small caves built with some sculptures engraved inside.
This whole temple is carved from top to bottom. So first of all, the ceiling was made, and then they went deeper and deeper to shape it in a chariot form.
After going through the Hindu cave number 16, we are now going to explore the Buddhist ones.
We just got done with the Kailash cave, and it was the Hindu cave, which was cave number 16, and now we are moving towards cave number 10, which is a Buddhist cave.
There are total 12 Buddhist caves present in Ellora, among which 11 of them are viharas or monasteries and only one is a Chaitagriha, that is a prayer hall. Cave number 10 comprises the only Buddhist prayer hall of Ellora. Seeing the beautiful artistic figures carved inside, it is also named as the carpenter's hut or Vishwakarma. The Buddha statue in the center is constructed in his preaching posture, where he is counting his fingers while sharing his ideologies to his followers. The acoustic sound mechanism is pretty good inside, holding the sound vibrations from 4 to 5 seconds. The rooftop is the imitation of the wooden ceiling used in that era, but as the wooden ceiling, because of its low endurance, was a failure, its usage stopped and got switched to the stone ceilings. Now we are going towards cave number 5. This is the cave number 5, which has a monastery cum dining hall for the monks. And this is where they used to eat food. They used to keep their food on this long horizontal column and used to sit down in a long straight line. One can also see small dark meditation rooms of 7 cross 7 feet all along the huge hall. The hall is massive in size, with 36-meter depth and 18-meter width. It is said that the monks never used to cook food by themselves, but used to visit the nearby villages for alms. Here too, inside the shrine, Buddha is seen seated in his preaching posture. We also found some sculptures of Buddha disciples engraved. To think that the Buddha statues in every shrine of Ellora Caves are the imaginative Buddhas that the Mahayana sect looked him as, when the sect specially flourished in the peak of 5th to 7th century. Now let's move towards the next caves. Cave number 12 is a three-story monastery, massive in size, known as Teen Tal. We can find pillars supporting each floor where pillars of each floor align symmetrically. But interestingly, if we look closely, then the pillars of the third floor are thinner than the second, and the second ones are thinner than the first story. Though the thick pillars of the first floor looks like they are lifting the heavy upper weights, but they are used in decorative sense. We can see a notice board made for the monks at the second floor. Also, they had constructed a well developed draining system, and hence the water doesn't get stuck anywhere and flows away in the rainy season without much damaging. We ended up going upstairs and found many sculptures in the mid, some distorted and some still standing at its place. The top floor contained a study hall for training the monks.
While going towards the other caves, we found that there were more caves which were quite empty because the structures were destroyed because of the weather conditions and all of that.
Going through the whole exploration process, we found many caves completely distorted and some whose sculptures got decayed with time. Most of the Jainist caves were decayed and only a few were left with good detailings.
We are finally moving out from this wonderful caves. Sun has already set, so we are finally going back.
And finally, we went to the Krishneshwar temple, one of the largest and oldest Vedic Shiva temples in India. It is also having one of the 12 Jyotirlingas of India. It was already late, so we didn't have to wait long in the queue to get the darshan. And it was an amazing night experience.
So after the wait of around an hour, we are finally going back, and we had our darshan, which was pretty well. So yeah, let's go now. Good night.